Hello, 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 and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome back if you're familiar, and welcome if you're new. This video has been inspired by just like the last week, I've been having a lot of revelations about not taking things personally and doing what I feel like I need to do in order to get to where I want to be, so to speak, and follow my inspired nudges and so on and so forth. And when you start doing this, you really have to learn to not take anything that anybody says to you personally. I do like to kind of integrate the compliments, but mainly what I'm talking about is if someone is criticizing what you're doing or the results are a little slow going and people freak out at you, or you can feel like tension building or anything like that, or any kind of judgment like, oh, well, you're supposed to do things this way, but here you are doing things the other way. Ha, ha, ha. No wonder you're not getting anywhere. You see what I'm saying? So it's really important to get really clear within your own self and your own being about why you're doing what you're doing and maintaining your inspiration about it, because motivation still feels kind of forced, right? Motivation sounds like effort, whereas inspired action and inspiration is effortless, and you're totally in flow. And when you're doing things this way, you know you're on the right track, no matter what some of the physical aspects of your circumstances might be. So this is Unfuckwithable, the power of letting go and not taking things personally. This is basically something that I've been thinking about over the last several days, is victim mentality. What is victim mentality? What is victim mindset? It's the things that we tell ourselves repeatedly that keep us thinking that we are victims to external factors, as well as assumptions and beliefs that we take on simply because other people have told us these things, or it seemed true on some level at one point, but it doesn't actually serve us. So what this looks like as it's playing out and as people behave based on these kinds of internal subconscious underlying beliefs is blaming people, things, and circumstances outside of ourselves for the problems that we are experiencing, and actively complaining or freaking out about focusing on the problems, which makes them grow. So if you're having issues and your life is kind of giving you a lot of challenges to overcome, these are meant for you. If you blame outside people, things, and circumstances for the problems that you're having, which is very, very easy to do, especially when you are being pushed to your breaking point, right? Right now, I am being pushed financially. Finances are the big issue in my life, poverty mindset. And people being manipulative and narcissistic. These are my main challenges. I don't face health problems like some people. For some people, it manifests as romantic problems, but for me, it manifests as problems with finances and problems with people who are basically manipulators and coercive. So while I have cleared out the majority of the issues that I have experienced with people, the financial issues are still kind of flying around and doing whatever their thing is, right? So it's very easy to fall into, oh, well, this is this thing's fault and this thing's fault and this thing's fault. But if we're really taking responsibility completely, if we're really taking full responsibility for our life and our experience, then I have to, at this point in my life, say, okay, well, now what? I was depending on my tax return. That would have been about $3,000 that I would have gotten. And it turns out that my student loans caught up with me. So now the money that I was going to use to catch up on the bills that have been piling up since my mother died in December, I cannot use now because the government decided, oh, pluck, here we go. Meanwhile, my ex-husband owes me $66,000 in back child support, and nobody can be bothered to do anything about that. So this is kind of one of the dilemmas that I find myself in, and one of the circumstances that really, really has me kind of in a state of resentment toward the system and towards systems in place. But I understand that this is my resentment issue. Okay, it has nothing to do with anything else out there, despite it feeling like at times that I'm being fucked with. You know what I mean? But that's the whole point. See, the title slide says "Unfuckwithable," right? So this is what we are working for. So any and all external circumstances, whatever, it's all fleeting, it's all temporary. And the less negative emotional energy you give to it, I mean, by all means, go through your emotional process, your emotional acceptance process, right? The steps of acceptance, but don't get caught up in it. Um, so whatever you might be going through, you know, when it rains, it pours. It always ends up seeming to be like 80 billion things at once. So don't get caught up in the amount of things. Just do one one step at a time, one moment at a time, one day at a time. See what I'm saying? Um, it also looks like waiting for something outside of yourself to be a certain way or meet certain requirements before you take action to create change in your life. You guys probably see this background over here. It's definitely not the prettiest. There's a lot of space issues and a lot of kind of chaos kind of stuff going on. However, I refuse to let that stop me from sharing my thoughts about these topics and about what's going on. My financial situation does not reflect my ability or my skill. That is a 3D constructed belief that is designed to keep us thinking in lack and thinking that we have to be codependent in order to survive. Well, guess what? I don't want to believe that, you know, and I don't think that that's going to be sustainable long term. So this is what a shift in consciousness is kind of how it starts to play out is with that decision. Like, does this really serve me and serve the life that I want to live? Or am I just kind of going along with what everybody says I'm supposed to do? Holding other people or circumstances responsible for your feelings. Your emotions are part of your consciousness. So you are the only one who truly has power over them. Allowing others to have the power to change your mood keeps you in victim mentality, because if you are easily influenced like that, if someone else can just change your mood just like that, oh, you make me so mad, well, then you are giving away your power to that person. You're basically saying, I don't want to be responsible for my emotions, so I'm going to make this other person responsible. And this keeps you seeking out answers from them rather than looking within for your own answers. So now that we've covered victim mentality, what is empowerment? The ability to discern when something is personal versus when it is not. Because check it out, most things are not meant personally. Most of the time, as individuals, when we make comments, we are very me-centric, right? It isn't until after we really, really work through all of our garbage and our crap and our stuff that we really turn that love outward, right? So, and that's okay, you know, because we have to be able to fill our own cup before we can share with others. Yes. So knowing not to take things personally will help you to maintain a full cup, so to speak. The ability to immediately let it go if it isn't personal. Understanding when someone is projecting their crap onto you. The ability to set boundaries with others or walk away if they don't respect those boundaries. The ability to continue treating others with respect from a distance if necessary, even if they don't necessarily do the same in return or you feel like they're not. Whether that's their intention or not is a completely different story. This is why I talk about all these little levels and layers and weird, you know, factors that are involved in our emotional landscape. The ability to recognize hypocrisy and understand it rather than lashing out or making a mountain out of a molehill. Because a lot of times when someone projects something onto you or complains about something that they are actually doing, they're really talking to themselves but projecting their issues onto you. So, and this can happen, it can happen very unconsciously, and it doesn't have to turn into a big deal, although I don't know a single person alive who likes to be griped and bitched at all the time. So, I just, it's one thing to say something, but it's something else to become naggy. So it's, what have you. But that whole being naggy thing is one way that people do turn a molehill into a huge issue, where it wouldn't have been such a big deal before if people just kind of know how to manage their emotions and know when they've crossed a line, for example. But if they're not totally aware of that, then it can escalate. It has done that for me. Before I was totally aware of it, I would just get so angry, I would get so angry and I would lash out. So, this is something for us all to be paying attention to and be aware of. The understanding that no one is a mind reader. So if you have a need, concern, or request, you must use your words to communicate said need, concern, or request. So while we are, a lot of people are able to kind of pick up and sense what someone is feeling or what their energy is like, it's not the same as straight up being a mind reader, right? I'm not going to know what the hell you want unless you use your words to tell me what you want. And if you say it in a mean way, then chances are I'm going to shut you out and be like, do it yourself. You know what I mean? Like, this is how we start to communicate in a more healthy way. Like, we have to be aware of how we're talking to people and what kind of energy that we're sending their way, because our words, the words that we use, the sound and the pronunciation and the diction and the energy behind these words is all energy. It's all energy, and it all contains a ton of information that the other person will be absorbing on multiple different levels all at once, right? So, on a consciousness level, on an emotional level, on an energetic level, and we pick up on all of this information subconsciously without being fully aware of it. That's why sometimes you get bad vibes from people. That's why sometimes what's going to play out over the next few months without really having any evidence of that. You know what I mean? So it's very, very interesting to kind of look around and like pay attention and see what's going on underneath it all. The ability to ask for what you need if you cannot meet the need yourself. So if you need something, or, if you have a question to ask, or if you, um, whatever it might be, it really doesn't matter. Me and my kids have spent the better part of the last year learning how to ask for stuff when we need it. And it it can feel challenging sometimes. It can feel kind of difficult, because if you're not used to asking, if you're used to basically having to hide yourself, period, and not really interact with people because you get reprimanded for asking, this is something that many many people who have experienced narcissistic abuse will probably understand that asking for things usually results in justified abuse, right? So if you have a need of any kind, the narcissist will exploit that in some way. And that can really fuck you up, man. That can really mess up your ability to like interact with people and communicate with people in a healthier way, which is why I'm saying you have to start to look at yourself and figure out, like, why is this way, and how can I go about this in a healthy way versus in a way that I was programmed or conditioned with, that's really damaging and toxic to other people and in turn yourself. You know what I mean? The ability to manage your emotions without taking them out on others and then blaming them for your outbursts. Emotional management is extremely important, and the biggest part of that is learning how to not react and how to not take out your emotions on other people and blame them for your feelings. This is challenging, but once you start to really embrace the idea that you are the master of your sea, the creator of your life, that's when you really will start to become less resentful toward your life and your circumstances and other people, and become more empowered. And that in turn will help you to know how to move forward into your next phase of life or your next steps to take and what have you. All right. So now that we've covered all of that, I want to share with you 3 steps to becoming unfuckwithable, because unfuckwithable means no triggers. You're no longer feeling victimized by emotional flashbacks. You're able to just be and not necessarily be worried or obsessed or codependently kind of freaking out about things behind the scenes, because you can sense all the energies and you don't know what they are. This used to happen to me all the time. So 3 steps to becoming unfuckwithable. Let's do this, right? Step 1 is quiet observation. Observing is extremely important, and I talk a lot about this in my class, Defusing the Love Bomb. So observing, becoming the observer of your own life is very important. Jumping to conclusions or taking things personally can create problems where there are none. So observe yourself, your emotions, and your environment without reacting or responding right away. And remember that the only person that you have control over is yourself. You cannot force your opinions and your perspective and the way that you see things. You cannot force that onto someone else. That is a fear-based response. That's a fear-based tactic, is force and coercion, right? So is manipulation. So all you can do is observe, right? And as you observe, you begin to gain more wisdom, because rather than thinking about what you're going to say next or thinking about what you're going to do next, you spend a lot more time just being and listening and integrating the information that you gather. Which brings me to step 2, practice patience, compassion, and empathy. Even if you are not experiencing this coming from others as much as you'd like, love makes love grow. So rather than doing things to quote unquote get back at someone, try putting yourself in their shoes first and understanding where they are coming from. The more you practice compassion and empathy and non-reactivity with other people as well as with yourself, the more depth of understanding that you will cultivate within yourself. So as you understand other people and as you kind of use your imagination to not necessarily make excuses, but to envision a mm, just that there could be a logical, um, reasonable kind of thing behind whatever is happening, if something's going kind of crazy, then oh, and especially when like when people are arguing or like trying to, get revenge on each other or whatever, somebody has to stop that. One or the other, usually it's two or more people. One or the other has to actually stop that. So, which one will you be? And then how will you handle the emotions that come with that? And once you know this, and once you have practiced this a couple times, then you start to realize, okay, it's not so bad. You know what I mean? This isn't that bad. I'm not scared of my emotions anymore. So, maybe it's just whatever. Maybe it's just whatever. Step number 3 is stay focused on you. You cannot make everyone outside of you happy no matter how hard you try. So why not focus on the one person whose happiness you do have an influence over, your own? As a natural byproduct, you will be able to be your best self, which in turn will, quote unquote, infect others with a sense of joy and happiness when you interact with them. And this kind of spreads ripples of joy and happiness. And the more you're able to meet your own needs and take good care of yourself, the more you're able to send out these joyful and inspired ripples to other people. And then, of course, they always come back. Whatever you send out is echoed back to you. So you just never know. All right. So the main takeaways that I want you guys to keep in mind here is to start exploring your own powers. And by powers, I mean the things that we take for granted and oversimplify and kind of shrug off as unimportant. These things include not reacting, not speaking unless absolutely necessary and important, asking for what you need, setting healthy boundaries, and managing your emotions without infecting others with unconscious toxicity. Because the toxicity spreads just like the positivity, right? If you're if you're the type of person who's constantly griping and bitching and complaining and calling people names and telling people they're stupid and, I have no hope for humanity and things like that, then that is exactly the experience that will be reflected back to you because the universe says, okay, sure, I'll prove you right. You know what I mean? So be very, very aware about what you are sending out there because it will always come back to you. It will always find its way back. Do things for you, no one else, unless you like feeling resentful and overwhelmed, in which case, carry on. Nothing that anybody else says, thinks, or does has any effect on you whatsoever without you giving permission for it to on some level. Oftentimes, this happens unconsciously. Nobody can control you. Nobody can take control over your life and your mind and your consciousness unless you let them by taking on their opinions and their perspectives and how they think and making that your own, all while trying to focus on keeping that person happy rather than focusing on yourself. And this is the playground of the narcissist. So if you notice that someone is trying to make you focus on them rather than you and your life, especially if you're going through a bunch of crap and you have a lot of stuff to do to take care of, um, anybody who cares about you really is going to be supportive and understand, okay, maybe you can't hang out or spend time or whatever for a few weeks or even a few months or even a couple years. You know what I mean? Some things take time. So if someone is supportive of what you need to do, then great. However, if they're trying to talk you into doing things their way and then threatening disapproval and energetically just kind of making you feel like your ideas are stupid, then this is probably not going to be good for you long term. And becoming aware of it is the first step to realizing that, hey, maybe I should start thinking more about me rather than trying to cater to this other person who never seems to do anything for me in return. You see what I'm saying? But don't be hypersensitive to it. You know, everybody's got toxicity, everybody's got baggage. Don't use it as as an excuse to escalate yourself emotionally, you know. Be 100% honest with yourself, brutally so if necessary, but not in a cruel manner. So while I do not agree with beating yourself up over blah, 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 you know, and unnecessarily making yourself feel terrible and guilty, I do agree with being brutally honest with yourself. Um, I've had to do that with many, many, many circumstances and many, many, many memories and many different things that I've been working through. And one of the biggest ones that came up recently was the idea that I was kind of waiting for someone to save me. I was waiting for someone to come along and sweep me off my feet, you know, because I did not believe in myself and I didn't think that I had the capability of saving myself. And some days I still feel like I really don't have what it takes. You know, I have all this stuff that I love to do, but what am I really doing? You know, is this really working? Do I want to spend the rest of my life making $400 a month living in fucking, you know, poverty crap? Is that really what I want? Or do I need to start up leveling myself and up leveling my life in multiple ways? That's something to think about. You know, do I really want to stay stuck here? Do I really want to stay stuck in this kind of lack? And if not, then where is it coming from? And what can I do to change it? Right? Well, that remains to be seen. There's lots of different things at play, but what's an issue that you're having that you haven't really looked at? Have you been 100% honest with yourself? Are you waiting for someone to come along and save you? Are you waiting for that perfect relationship? Are you waiting for your partner to ask you to move in? Have you been talking about getting your shit together and somehow it's just not happening? There's something else there. There's something else there that needs to be looked at, you know? And now for me, it's money, but for other people, it's disease, it's chronic illness, it's depression, it's anxiety. You know, for me, it's money. We all have our issues that we have to overcome, you know? And and I'm sure later on in life it'll be something else. You know, there's always going to be challenges, but if you're not 100% honest with yourself, then there's a good chance that you'll repeat the same problems and challenges over and over. And that is something that we're trying not to do because we want to learn in new and different ways, right? We shouldn't have to repeat the same lesson over and over. Yeah. Last but not least, be 100% authentically yourself. Being genuine and open allows you to enhance your ability to connect with others and your higher self or soul. So, you know, no matter what it is you're doing, be yourself. And if it flows and if it's naturally just like meant to be for you, then it will flow and it will naturally fall into place and it'll feel effortless. So, along those lines, I wanted to tell you guys a little story about um, I started my first eBay store, and actually, I should go back a little bit further. So, this past week, I started a new job that's commission based. Okay, so I'm working at this cute little thrift store, and part of my job is to start an eBay store to kind of help sell some of the stuff, right? And I get to use items from the store and list them on eBay. And I have a brand new seller account. And so I had to make up a store name. And I had this inspired idea while I was actually in the middle of a conversation. And I came running down the hallway like, oh my gosh, I have to write this down. And it was Meant to Be is my store name, Meant to Be. And this is what I wanted. And when I checked, it was actually available, which happens to me all the time, which kind of is weird because I always remember that there are no more original ideas. Everything's already been done before. So how is it that there's still like semi-original thoughts coming from my brain? You know what I mean? Like, oh my goodness. But happy, 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 right? Like, how cool is it that I got the name that I wanted? And how cool is it that I get to do this and have this opportunity? Because Lord knows that I am so, so tired of being in poverty. It is the most ridiculous and dumb thing that I've ever experienced. And I want out. I want out. I'm done. Anyway, so, being 100% authentically yourself, um, this will have you in the vibration that attracts the people that need to hear what you have to say. So that's pretty much the most important part about being authentically yourself and really being true to yourself and doing things in a way that feels inspired to you. Because in this new paradigm, in this new dimension, we are not going to be able to survive by doing things with the same um, energy backing it up as we had been doing before. So if you're so used to running away from what you're scared of and running toward, rather than running toward your desires made manifest, right? So how do I, we'll take this whole poverty thing again, right? How do I run toward abundance rather than thinking of it as I need to get away from poverty? I need to get out of poverty, right? Because then I'm still thinking poverty. So these are some of the things that I'm kind of working through with myself right now, in order to finally build up from here. All right. So last but not least is Defusing the Love Bomb. I have an offer for you guys. Please subscribe, like, and share if this resonates with you on any level and you want to be closer to being unfuckwithable. I'm kind of brainstorming like a short class surrounding this. And then once I get my financial abundance in place, then I will be doing classes on that. Obviously, as I learn, I will be sharing. And right now, I'm learning about getting out of victim mentality and stepping into self empowerment. And this is something that I definitely want to share with you guys. So I do touch on a lot of the concepts about being unfuckwithable in Defusing the Love Bomb, because that is part of self-empowerment, is learning to love yourself unconditionally. So if you would like to go ahead and dive deeper now, you can click the link in the description to save $111 on Defusing the Love Bomb. And I will also put the landing page, the link to the landing page on my website for the course on there, or in the description. Because if you are, if only one or two lessons kind of resonate with you, like if you've already been on a self-healing journey or you're only drawn to like one specific thing, then you can go to that page and purchase each lesson individually, should you want to do it that way. The individual purchases do not include the bonus content. So keep that in mind. If you want the bonus content, then that's only available by purchasing the whole entire class all at once. Yeah, which from here you can do for $333 instead of $444. So there's that. I hope that this resonated with you guys and that you really are able to start recognizing when you're holding on to toxic emotions and when you're taking things personally that aren't meant to be personal, that's someone else's problem kind of energetically leaping over to you for a little bit. You can choose not to participate in that. You can choose to just let it roll right off. You can choose to just be like, okay, you know, this is beyond my control. This is not my circus, not my monkeys. You know what I mean? Whatever it is you have to do to draw a boundary and validate yourself. And as you continuously do this, it will become more and more habitual, and everything becomes more effortless from there. So, if you're ready to dive deeper, go ahead and click the link in the description. I hope that this was informative for you guys, and that this whole being unfuckwithable idea makes more sense to you. This is a topic I'm really excited about right now, so I'll probably do more videos on it very soon. I just started a job outside the home at this thrift store, so I don't have as much time, and I didn't have very much time before to begin with, because I do still have 3 children, and I do have other things that need to get done, like a fucking mountain of other things. And so I'm just doing what I can one day at a time, and I hope that you guys don't hold that against me. So, and that might be some of my fear of judgment coming up right there. Who knows? But I hope that you are having an absolutely beautiful weekend, and I will see you in the next video. Again, check out the links in the description in order to dive deeper, and I'll see you soon. Namaste, beautiful souls. Mwah.
Do you see beauty? Do you see pain? Oh, whatever you feel is what comes back again. Oh,
Thank you so much for being here, my friends. Namaste. As you remember and reconnect with the light of unconditional love within your soul, don't forget to enjoy your life and have some fun along the way. Fall into the unknown.
fall with me into the unknown. Let's break free and learn how to let go.
Download this track and other fun bonuses when you defuse the love bomb at www.innerworkcoaching.life.